Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new series that I have decided to start. I have been planning this series for a while, and if it goes to plan and everyone including myself likes it, it has the potential of being 198 episodes long. In this series I will be telling you the whole story of the Harry Potter books, each episode being a chapter. This will give the people who haven't read the books and those who don't want to read the books an opportunity to experience their true glory in video form. It should also hopefully be entertaining to the people that have already read the books as well. Before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can see when a new episode comes out. And now let's get into the story of Harry Potter. The story starts with the Dursleys, which are pretty much the most normal and boring people you could ever meet. Mr. Dursley is described as a large, beefy man with hardly any neck and a large mustache. Mrs. Dursley is described as a thin and blonde woman with twice the usual amount of neck. The last of the Dursleys is their young son Dudley, and in their opinion there is no better boy in the world. The Dursleys had everything they had ever wanted, but their greatest fear was that people would find out they were related to the Potters, as Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister. They were scared of people finding out because the Potters were very abnormal and they didn't want their son mixing with Dudley. We start with Mr. Dursley getting up and going to work. He kisses his wife goodbye and attempts to kiss Dudley, but fails as Dudley was having a temper tantrum. That day, Mr. Dursley notices and experiences a number of odd things, such as a cat reading a map in his neighborhood, a bunch of people dressed in cloaks, those same people talking about a family called the Potters and their son Harry, and runs into a man who calls him a muggle and hugs him. All this makes him very uneasy as he thinks it may have something to do with the Potters. Later that night, he finds out that the owls have been out and about all day and that people have been setting off fireworks in celebration. He also finds out from his wife Petunia that the Potter's son is in fact named Harry. He goes to bed that night hoping that even if all this stuff had anything to do with the Potters, it wouldn't involve them. He goes to bed having no idea that the cat he had seen reading the map earlier that day was still sitting outside, seemingly waiting for someone. Suddenly, a man appeared on the street as though out of thin air, and the man couldn't look more like he didn't belong. His name was Albus Dumbledore, and he was a man who was tall and thin with very long silver hair and a beard. He was wearing long robes, a purple cloak that swept to the ground, and high-heeled buckled boots. After he arrived, he grabbed his deluminator out of his pocket, and when he used it, it sucked all the light out of the surrounding street lamps. When he was done, the street was so dark that nobody would be able to see what was going on from outside their houses, which was what Dumbledore was aiming for. He then addresses the cat.
I should have known that you would be here, Professor McGonagall.
The cat turns into a woman wearing spectacles the same shape as the markings surrounding the cat's eyes, sporting black hair and wearing an emerald green cloak. They then start a conversation, and Professor McGonagall voices her disapproval to Dumbledore of how careless the wizards have been acting all day with their celebration. She tells Dumbledore how the Muggles are starting to notice, and about how reports of owls and shooting stars have been all over the Muggle news. Dumbledore, however, thinks that they have the right to celebrate, as the wizards have had very little to celebrate over the past 11 years, as the reign of terror caused by Voldemort, normally addressed as you-know-who, was finally over. They then get to the subject of how Voldemort disappeared, and when McGonagall checks with Dumbledore to see if the rumors she heard were correct, she is very saddened to find out that they were true. Lily and James Potter were killed by Voldemort, and when he went to kill their baby Harry, he couldn't do it, and instead his power somehow broke. They then moved to the subject of why Dumbledore is at the Dursleys, as McGonagall was told by Hagrid that he would be there. She finds out that Dumbledore was planning on giving baby Harry to the Dursleys, as they were the only family he had left. McGonagall protests, saying that the Dursleys were horrible and they were very unlike their people. She said that Harry would be famous and that all the wizards would know his name. But Dumbledore wisely says that growing up in all that fame would be unhealthy for him, as it would get to anybody's head. He is much better growing up away from the fame, and taking it when he is ready. McGonagall changes her mind then and agrees that it is probably for the best that Harry grows up and lives with the Dursleys. When McGonagall asks Dumbledore where Harry is and how he is getting there, she is not very pleased to hear that Hagrid is bringing him, thinking that sometimes he can be a little careless. Dumbledore, however, assures McGonagall that he would trust Hagrid with his life, and McGonagall acknowledges that Hagrid's heart is in the right place. Hagrid then shows up on a flying motorcycle. He is described to be almost twice the size of a normal man, wild looking with tangles of bushy black hair and a beard that almost hid his face. In Hagrid's large arms he held Harry and gave him to Dumbledore, telling him that the house was nearly destroyed when he arrived, but he managed to get Harry out. They acknowledged the lightning-shaped scar on the baby's forehead that was caused by the curse cast by Voldemort. When McGonagall asks if they could remove it, Dumbledore tells her that he wouldn't even if he could, as according to him, scars can be useful. Hagrid gives Harry a whiskery kiss goodbye and then after breaks out in tears due to how sad it was that Harry's parents were now dead and that he would be stuck living with the Muggles now. McGonagall manages to get Hagrid to get a grip, and they bring baby Harry to the front doorstep of the Dursleys and set him there with a letter addressed to the Dursleys explaining everything. The three of them stood there in a moment of silence looking at the bundle of blankets where Harry slept. They then left, Hagrid flying off on his motorbike, the cat retreating, and Dumbledore returning the light and wishing Harry good luck from the distance, thereafter disappearing. There, on the Dursleys' doorstep, all alone, lay Harry, in the letter to the Dursleys. He had no idea that he was now famous and that people were meeting up all around the country, raising their glasses and saying, "To Harry Potter, the boy who lived." Hey guys, I'm just here to give a big thank you to everybody who watched the video all the way through. It really means a lot because I put a lot of time and effort into them to make sure that they're the best for you guys. Feel free to follow me on Instagram to see a little bit of my personal life. Feel free to follow me on Twitter to see cool little tweets, and feel free to follow me on TikTok to see cool little videos. If you did enjoy this video, also feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and maybe leave a cool little comment. And with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. My kitty says goodbye.